And today we actually heard from David Beckham. He was on CNBC this morning, and while he didn't address this controversy specifically, he was asked about social media and children's use of social media. So here's what he said.
They make mistakes. Children are allowed to make mistakes. That's how they learn. So that's what I try to teach my kids. But, you have to sometimes let them make those mistakes as well.
He basically talks about the fact that he is not the one being controlled by his wife. His family were controlling him.
When your dad is one of the most ruthless competitors the world has ever seen, failure doesn't just hurt. It hits hard, like reality slamming the door in your face. And right now, that's exactly where Brooklyn Beckham finds himself. This isn't some quiet family awkwardness or a private disagreement. It's pressure, pride, and privilege crashing straight into real life. The perfect Beckham image is starting to crack, and those polished smiles don't feel so polished anymore. The family might be playing it cool in public, but that silence is loud, especially coming from David Beckham, who's letting his moves speak way louder than words.
I saw an interview with David. This was like right after Brooklyn released his statement. And he's like, kids make mistakes and you have to let them make mistakes. And it was like a very grounded answer. I was like, he and Victoria, though they may have issues, no family's perfect, are grounded adults.
Brooklyn keeps saying he's building his own lane, chasing freedom, independence, and self-made energy. But David's body language, his interviews, and those subtle comments say something very different. There's tension in the air, thick and undeniable, hiding behind calm poses and classy headlines. David isn't throwing shots outright, but when he talks about owning mistakes, earning respect, and grinding for success, it cuts deep. Coming from a man who built everything with discipline, sacrifice, and non-stop hustle, those words don't land like advice. They land like judgment. Brooklyn keeps talking about independence, but his track record tells a rougher story. Projects get launched, then quietly dropped. Big dreams start strong, then fade out halfway. Opportunities keep landing in his lap, not from grinding day and night, but from carrying one of the biggest last names on the planet. And now the world is watching closely, waiting to see if he'll finally prove he's more than just a Beckham. That gap between image and reality has never looked this sharp.
Recently, David Beckham had a 50th birthday party that was a star-studded event, and Brooklyn and Nicola were not there. Allegedly, David Beckham also planned an all-boys fishing trip for his 50th birthday, and Brooklyn Beckham declined. So is Brooklyn choosing to distance himself from the Beckham name and just move on with his new life and new wife?
While Brooklyn is busy saying he's doing my own thing, David and Victoria have made a move that feels cold, but calculated. They've stopped shielding him completely. No more family safety net, no more soft landings. They're letting the cracks show in real time, and it's brutal to watch. The spotlight has clearly shifted, and it's obvious where the support is going now. All the praise and energy are aimed at the kids who are actually putting in work. Romeo is out here dominating the fashion lane, walking major runways and landing campaigns like a seasoned pro. Cruz is charging full speed into music, dropping tracks, performing live, and grinding non-stop to make it happen. The parents never directly clap back at Brooklyn's "I'm independent" talk, but their silence speaks loud. The love, attention, and hype for Romeo and Cruz aren't random, it's strategic. This is classic David Beckham playbook in action. This is how David plays the game, in business, sports, and life, period. His mindset never switches up. You show up, you put in the work, you take the hits, and you finish what you start. In his world, nobody waits around for someone who quits halfway through, and that rule has always been non-negotiable. And that's where things get uncomfortable, because Brooklyn has started to get known for doing the opposite. His first shot was football, the family legacy lane, elite training, top-tier coaches, every door wide open. Most kids would dream of that setup, but instead of stacking progress, it all slipped away. No contract, no breakthrough, no real career. The dream ended before it ever got breathing room. Then came photography. Big connections rolled in fast. Major fashion collaborations, a glossy photo book, access to elite art programs people spend years chasing. Once again, the same cycle showed up. Quick hype, early praise, loud buzz, then silence. Projects launched hot and faded just as fast, unfinished and forgotten. Just when people thought he'd finally found his lane, he switched gears again. Suddenly, Brooklyn Beckham was everywhere as a so-called celebrity chef. Viral clips, TV appearances, luxury kitchens, clean edits, and flashy vibes. It looked legit on the surface, but behind the scenes, questions were stacking fast, and not everything was adding up. Drop the next piece when you're ready. We're keeping this pressure tight. The attention was wild, and Brooklyn even admitted it himself. No formal training, no culinary school, no chef background, nothing like that. Still, major media outlets were hyping him up like he was the next big thing in food. Critics didn't hold back, though. They came swinging hard, breaking down his dishes, questioning his skills, and calling it out across every platform. Instead of leveling up and proving them wrong, Brooklyn started fading again. Just like before, he slipped out of the spotlight as fast as he stepped into it. Another dream, half-cooked and left sitting there unfinished. Then came another curveball, entrepreneur mode. Out of nowhere, Brooklyn was teasing his own hot sauce brand. Clean branding, sleek designs, big talk about future plans, and even hints at opening a restaurant. Every new move was sold as the one, the dream he'd finally lock in and commit to. But over time, people started noticing the same pattern repeating. No steady grind, no clear growth, just loud launches followed by quiet exits. What first looked like passion started feeling more like chasing trends. That's when the Nepo baby label stopped sounding like internet jokes and started hitting different. This was never about lack of access. Brooklyn's had everything: money, fame, connections, and one of the strongest last names in the game. And yet, the question still hangs heavy. What happens when opportunity keeps showing up, but follow-through never does? What critics, and maybe even his parents, keep circling back to is one missing piece. Not talent, not access, not money. It's consistency and follow-through. And that's exactly why David Beckham's recent interviews hit so hard. When David was asked about parenting and handling mistakes, he didn't sugarcoat anything or rush to protect Brooklyn. He kept it real, talking discipline, responsibility, and owning your failures like an adult. No excuses, no emotional cover-ups. His tone wasn't angry, it was calm, sharp, and impossible to misread. He made one thing clear: messing up is human, but that doesn't mean you escape consequences. Every choice has a price, and sometimes the toughest lessons come from the people who care the most. Independence isn't about loud statements or dramatic distance. It's about proving yourself over time. And while Brooklyn calls his space from the family freedom, the truth cuts deeper. He's still wrapped in comfort, built by a last-name empire. Luxury is guaranteed, but when it comes to work, his career path is still a gamble every single time. There's still one massive question mark hanging in the air, and it's heavy. It's the kind of question David Beckham might be asking privately, away from cameras and headlines. What happens if Nicola Peltz ever walks away? Right now, Brooklyn's entire lifestyle is tied to that marriage. Emotionally, socially, financially, even professionally, everything overlaps. Nicola's family isn't just rich, they're deeply connected. Their reach rivals the Beckham brand itself. Together, it's a powerhouse setup. But take that away, and what's really left for Brooklyn? No solid career foundation. No stable income built fully on his own. Nothing standing firmly on his own 2 feet. That's the harsh truth nobody close to him wants to say out loud. And the comparisons don't help. Critics keep lining him up next to his brothers, and yeah, it stings. Romeo Beckham locked into fashion and never looked back. He trained hard, faced the heat, and came back stronger every season. No shortcuts, just grind. That contrast makes the tension obvious. One brother is laying bricks day by day. The other is still searching for a road that finally holds. Cruz Beckham took a totally different lane, but with the same locked-in mindset. Instead of bouncing between random ideas, Cruz Beckham locked in on his music and stayed there, writing his own songs, performing live, hitting the road to build a real fan base the slow, hard way. No fake hype, no sudden pivots, no shortcuts. Just late nights, steady grind, and real progress. Every step he takes feels earned, not handed to him. And when Cruz or Romeo Beckham hit new milestones, their parents make sure the world sees it. Victoria Beckham's posts aren't just proud mom moments. They're statements. Every photo, every caption feels intentional, like a message being sent without a single word. These are the kids walking the talk, putting in work, earning their shine instead of floating on a last name. Those posts scream something bigger than family pride. They show exactly what the Beckhams value most: hustle, discipline, and real achievement. And yeah, you can bet Brooklyn noticed. How could he not? The internet noticed too. While his name trended for all the wrong reasons, the rest of the Beckham crew stayed tight, united, and unbothered. Showing up together, owning Fashion Week, celebrating wins that actually meant something. Their silence was loud, louder than any interview could ever be. Life doesn't wait for excuses. It doesn't reward talk. It rewards work. And David Beckham has never believed in shortcuts. His entire legacy was built on discipline, taking hits, and pushing forward no matter how brutal it got. To David Beckham, success isn't a gift you pass down like a family heirloom. It's earned day after day through grind, discipline, and grit. And that's where the painful truth hits hardest. Brooklyn hasn't earned it yet. He keeps talking about wanting independence, space, and freedom from his parents' spotlight. But his version of freedom looks more like comfort than courage. Because here's the real deal. Freedom without responsibility isn't independence. It's a bubble. A soft, safe, privilege-filled bubble. And maybe that's what stings most for David, a man who built everything from nothing, watching his son coast on what was handed to him. This isn't minor family tension, it's a full-blown clash of values, legacy versus lifestyle, quiet but fierce. David isn't the type to explode in public, so don't confuse his silence with weakness. What makes this situation so explosive isn't just what Brooklyn said, it's what his parents didn't say. No angry interviews, no messy PR, no public scolding. Instead, David and Victoria Beckham made the coldest move possible. They stayed silent, stood united, and let their success do all the talking. They doubled down on what they stand for: loyalty, hard work, and consistency. And by saying nothing, they made it crystal clear who in the family truly lives by those values everyone keeps dissecting online. Some people call it icy, others say it's pure genius. But inside the Beckham household, silence isn't weakness, it's power. It's their way of speaking loud without saying a single word. David Beckham knows the media game better than almost anyone alive. Decades of headlines, scandals, relentless public judgment. If he wanted this whole drama gone, one emotional interview would have shut it down overnight. But he didn't take that route, and that choice says everything. Instead, David stayed quiet and let Brooklyn do the talking, and that move screams confidence, not fear. Because when Brooklyn finally aired out his frustrations, he didn't expose shocking secrets or dark betrayals. What he revealed was way more personal, a buildup of resentment fueled by missed chances and constant disappointment. At this point, it's not about control anymore. It's about consequences. Brooklyn keeps calling it freedom, saying he's carving his own path. But when you line up the timeline, it doesn't add up. He didn't walk away with a clear plan, no solid career, no real vision. He just stepped back and labeled it independence. He created emotional distance, public distance, even symbolic distance. But distance alone doesn't equal direction. And that gap is exactly where the tension keeps growing. But let's be real, distance isn't direction. You can walk away from your family's shadow all you want. But if you don't know where you're headed, that so-called freedom doesn't mean much at all. And for someone like David Beckham, that truth hits deep. His entire career was forged under pressure. He lived in the spotlight, took hits from every angle, faced non-stop criticism, and never ran from it. Instead, he used that heat to get sharper, stronger, and more locked in. That's the difference. One man learned from the fire. The other keeps trying to escape it. That's the standard David lives by, and the same one he expects his son to rise to. No shortcuts, no excuses, no pity. David's been dragged through the mud by the world and still stood tall, booed by his own country, ripped apart by brutal headlines, humiliated on a global stage, blamed for losses that shattered national pride. And what did he do after all that? He didn't crumble. He fought back. He trained harder, focused deeper, and rebuilt himself brick by brick until the same people who once mocked him were cheering his name. That mindset defines him. The standard he breathes. The one he bleeds for. So when he watches Brooklyn jump from football to photography, then cooking, then branding, never staying long enough to master anything, it's not just frustrating, it's heartbreaking. And the real issue isn't that Brooklyn failed. The real issue isn't that Brooklyn Beckham failed, it's that he quit. He keeps switching lanes, rebranding, restarting, and expecting applause every time something new drops. That's what cuts deep, the lack of endurance behind all the noise. Even the projects he still has running feel like they lean more on fame than actual craft. His cooking clips blow up online, not because the food is groundbreaking, but because the last name carries weight. The attention comes fast, but not from mastery. His products move because of the Beckham brand, not the grind behind the label. His invites and appearances come from connections, not hard-earned merit. And that's where the sting of the Nepo baby label hits hardest. Nepotism might open the door, sure, but it won't keep it open forever. Sooner or later, the work has to speak for itself. Brooklyn isn't the first celebrity kid to ride a legacy wave, but he's becoming the clearest example of what happens when privilege isn't matched with persistence. A famous name gets you noticed. Only grind earns respect. Others in his position, actors, designers, musicians, entrepreneurs, pick a lane and stay there. They fall, learn, grow in public. Every setback shows evolution. But Brooklyn keeps hitting restart like it's a personal safety net, one that never snaps. And that net is stitched together from his parents' fame and his wife's fortune. And as long as it holds, the pressure to truly push through never fully hits. And there's also the quiet comfort of knowing failure will never hit him the way it hits everyone else. That's when the spotlight swings right back to Nicola Peltz. Brooklyn has made it crystal clear. This marriage isn't just part of his life, it is his life right now. He credits Nicola for everything: his peace, his confidence, his so-called independence. She's the center of his world. But critics, and let's be honest, probably even his parents, see something risky forming behind that picture. A perfect love story where independence leans way too heavily on someone else. And that's not freedom. That's dependence wearing a clean outfit. If Nicola is providing emotional balance, financial stability, and social protection, then where does Brooklyn's real autonomy actually sit? That's not gossip. That's a fair and necessary question, because right now, his identity feels tied more to who's standing next to him than who he is on his own. And here's the contrast that makes everything sting harder. David Beckham didn't build freedom through comfort. He earned it through grit. He wasn't standing in anyone's shadow. He was creating his own light, brick by brick, mistake by mistake. He built his legacy through failure, discipline, and consistency. That's what real independence looks like: not inherited, not borrowed, earned. And that's exactly why the gap between Brooklyn and his younger brothers feels so sharp. One side is built on grind, the other still leans on safety. Romeo Beckham didn't just stroll into fashion and coast, he grinded, season after season, city after city, showing up, walking runways, proving himself in an industry that chews people up and spits them out fast. Even famous names don't get unlimited chances. In fashion, you don't get called back out of pity, you get called back because you deliver results. And Romeo has been doing exactly that. Earning respect one runway at a time. No shortcuts, no safety net vibes. Then there's Cruz Beckham. He could have treated music like a side hobby, something casual to pass the time. But he didn't. He locked in like it was his craft. Writing, rehearsing, performing, touring, taking every step seriously and building something real from the ground up. No viral gimmicks, no empty hype, just steady effort and raw work ethic. And that's what separates him. So when David Beckham and Victoria Beckham publicly cheer for Romeo and Cruz, it's not just proud parent energy. It's strategy. Every post, every shout-out, every photo is intentional. These are the ones earning their shine. This isn't favoritism, it's alignment. They're not backing excuses. They're backing effort. And deep down, Brooklyn feels that shift. He sees it too, because in the Beckham household, showing up actually matters. Love in that family might be equal, but respect is something you have to earn every single time. And that's exactly why Brooklyn's frustration finally spilled out loud and messy for the world to see, accusing his parents of controlling the narrative and caring more about image than truth. And to be fair, he wasn't completely wrong, but he wasn't completely right either. The Beckhams have always cared about image. But in their world, image isn't fake smiles or polished perfection. It's discipline, consistency, results. You don't talk about who you are, you prove it every day. Brooklyn, though, seems to want recognition without the receipts, praise without progress, freedom without accountability. And that disconnect is impossible to ignore. But David Beckham doesn't play that game. Not now. Not ever. And what makes this situation so powerful isn't what David said, it's what he didn't say. He didn't trash his son publicly. He didn't deny Brooklyn's feelings. He didn't clap back with anger. Instead, he gave a quiet masterclass in restraint. A reminder that kids mess up. They stumble. They learn. That wasn't coldness. It was context. David didn't respond with bitterness. He responded with perspective, turning a headline-grabbing outburst into a real-life lesson about growing up. One emotional explosion doesn't define Brooklyn, but it doesn't erase accountability either.